So we're going to start learning how to use the pen tool in Illustrator. This is one of the most helpful tools that I use in Illustrator, and it can do a ton of different things, and it's just an extremely important tool. However, it does take some practice to really master. And I'll be honest, when I first started learning how to use the pen tool, I really hated using it, but the more practice I got, the better I got at it, and then it became my favorite tool. So you're going to go on the website and you're going to open up the document for drawing, and it's titled Drawing, Pen, Brush, Pencil, and Smooth Tool. Now, as you can see, it's two documents, and we're not going to get to both of them in this article, in this episode. We're going to work with the pen tool first. I want you guys to really get some good practice in with the pen tool. We may even have another practice to go along with the pen tool. And then we'll do a little bit with the pencil and the brush tool. But the pen tool is going to be our main focus. So I want you guys to open this up, and then we're going to go to this second page here. You're going to open up the pen tool. The pen tool is the fifth tool down here, and it's simply just shortcut is P for pen tool. Now, since we're going to be working with this, I recommend that you click and hold, open up this little window of 4, click this little arrow here, and what this does is it brings the pen tools out so we can have easier access to them, so we don't have to keep clicking and holding and picking which one we want. And I'm going to show you what each one of these tools do. So our simple pen tool, I'm going to demonstrate what it does just up here in this little white area. The pen tool, how it simply works is when you click, it creates a point, and then when you click again, it starts to draw a line. So this is how you can freehand shapes and lines and things like that. Now the default for the pen tool is the stroke is black and then the fill is white. If we come over here and we change the fill to a different color, you can see that as I draw, it starts to fill it in. And then you can complete a shape. Now each click I have, it creates a sharp geometric angle. We can also do curves, and how we do curves is when you click, hold down the mouse, and drag out these little arms. And those handles, which you've worked with in some earlier episodes, have the ability to allow you to make curves. So you can create all these little curves. Now, these other tools, we have Add Anchor Point. This is a simple tool that allows you to add an anchor point somewhere on a line. So let's say I'm working on this shape and I've decided that I need to edit it and I need a new point here. I simply just click on the path and it creates a new anchor point. And what that allows me to do is to use my direct selection and drag that out. So you can add an anchor point, or with this other tool, you can delete an anchor point. So if you no longer want this one, you just click delete. If I don't want this one, I can just click delete. Same with this one here. Or like I said, you can go back to add and add one, use your selection tool, and move it about. Now the last tool, your anchor point tool right here, this one allows us to make edits. So let's say on this curved path, you can break, I call this breaking the handles. So now you have two handles that can move in different directions, because normally the default is that the handles are connected. So you can make one shorter and longer, but ultimately they move together. But if I want to move one handle on its own, you have to use the anchor point tool, and then you can move one. It also allows you to turn these regular anchor points that don't have handles into curves with handles. And then it also allows you to turn ones with curves just by simply clicking on it into anchor points without handles. The last thing it allows you to do is it does allow you to remove one handle. So instead of clicking in the center, if I click in the center of the anchor point, it gets rid of both handles. However, if I click on just one handle, it will get rid of just that one handle. And then you will have one handle that moves around. So as you can see, the pen tool is pretty useful in creating all kinds of shapes. And then once you have your shape, you can simply select it and you can change the stroke and the fill color if you want it to. Just like any other shape, you can change the stroke towards thicker. You can come over to your stroke settings here and change the different types of rounded corners, beveled corners, line inside, line outside. So you could still do all the same things you can with a normal shape, but you get to create a custom shape. So I'm going to go ahead and delete these. This is just me demonstrating and showing you how these work. Now down here on this document, you're going to use the pen tool, and there's been some boxes kind of created for you to help guide you, and you simply just click. Now normally, let me set this back to default, your default is a white fill with a black outline, and so you won't even see the white fill. When you reach the end of a shape, you just simply push enter and it ends the shape, so you can start your new one. So what I want you to do here is you're going to create your shape. Now you notice that as I started creating it, because it's got a white fill, it covered up what I want to see. So there is a way for you to kind of create this. Oops. So even if I click here, it's still going to cover it up. So what I recommend doing is coming over to your fill and changing it to no fill. Once you have no fill on, it's very easy for you to come in here and select all of these points. Another really interesting thing about the pen tool is when you hold down shift, it allows you to do a few things. So I'm going to delete this so I can show you guys some interesting things it does when you hold down shift. So I'm going to start drawing the shape, and what shift does is when you hold down shift, it allows you to draw, oops, it allows you to draw perfectly straight lines to the left, perfectly straight lines down, to the right, up, and it also allows you to do lines at 45 degrees. So that's 45 degrees, 90, 45, 90, 45, 90. So it keeps going around like a clock. So if you get down to this bottom one, you can actually hold down shift and it will create a perfect 45-degree line. And it doesn't matter, you can click here, oops, you can click over and it will still draw your line. So I'm just holding down shift, and this is how I can get perfectly straight at 45 degrees and vertical and horizontal. So once you have your shape drawn, you're going to push A for shortcut for the direct selection tool. You're going to click on this point here, and you're going to click and drag it to this point. Then you are going to click this one here, and you're going to bring it up, and you are going to bring this one over. So that way you have a new shape. So using the direct selection tool, you can see how you can actually move points around. For our next shape, I'm going to go back to the pen tool. I'm just going to select P for shortcut, but it's right here. What you're going to have to do is you're going to have to select these anchor points, but this time you're going to have to click and drag out. And you're going to have to click and drag out, and you're going to have to angle these to get as close to the shape as possible. Now, some of them are not going to be perfect, and that is okay, because once we get the main parts of it done, we can always go back and edit. So I'm just going to click through here pretty quickly. There are going to be some mistakes, but I want to get to as close as possible right now. So I'm just going to finish this up. Notice that that one's really weird. And then to close your shape, you always just click back on the first one that you did. Now I'm going to do Shift C, or come over here and click on my anchor point tool. And this is how you can actually come through and kind of fix some of these. So if I want, I can deselect that one, bring that down, and you can always undo what you did by simply selecting it. So I'm going to go back to my A, which is my direct selection tool. And I'm just going to make some adjustments. So what's nice is you can adjust one handle at a time. So I'm going to shorten this handle, shorten that handle. And you're just going to kind of clean this up a little bit. These need to be shortened a little bit on this side and this side. I want you guys to make this as smooth and as clean as possible. So any major areas, just clean those up. Okay, just get it as good as you possibly can. The last one is going to be a combination, oh, not the last one, second to the last one, combination of curves and straights. So I'm going to go back to my pen tool. I'm going to select here. I'm going to hold down Shift so I can get a nice straight line. Then I'm going to click and hold. So you guys are going to just create these shapes. Now for this one, if you click, hold down Alt, it automatically breaks the arms for you, which saves you a little bit of time in the future. Hold down Shift to get some nice straight lines. The more straight lines you have in those areas, the easier this is going to be, and the cleaner everything tends to look. Hold down Shift, and for the rest of this, you can actually hold down Shift for all this part, and it just makes sure that you guys have some really straight lines. Now I'm going to go in here with A, and I'm going to fix this little guy here. I already broke the arm, so I don't have to, I broke the handles. I always call them arms, but I think that's what they used to be called. So clean that one up. Go back to my pen tool using the P on the keyboard, which is the shortcut. Hold down Shift to create a straight line, and just going to come through here. Now, when you're creating a curve like this, if you don't want an angle and you do want your curve perfectly straight, if you hold down Shift, it doesn't allow you to do some weird angles. It keeps it straight or at 45. So that's really helpful when you want some beautifully perfect curves. Oops. See how I missed it there? It didn't close. If you just click undo, make sure you always click on it. You know it's on it when you see how when I hover over it, there's this little pin sign with a circle. That little circle next to the pen tool, like my little mouse, means that the path is complete. It's whole. So go through, fix anything that needs to be fixed, clean it up a little bit, whatever you need to do. Yes. Oops, went the wrong way. Okay, the last one is this eye tool. So, or eye shape. So you're going to come in here with the pen tool. Now we want this to have a fill. Okay, so we're going to draw this eye. You're going to grab your pen tool. I'm going to select right here on the end. Oops. I'm going to place a point there. I'm going to come straight across over here and place a point. I'm going to then push Shift C to get your anchor point tool here. And I'm going to drag out the handle. Now, if you notice, I'm making the handles really long because I'm trying to get this curve. So you just want to get that curve right there. Once you're happy with it, go back to the pen tool. You're going to click, oops, you're going to click here, and you're just going to create an eyelash. Once you have one done, you're going to use your selection tool. You're going to hold down Alt, and you are going to make some copies. Okay? Just kind of make sure that they're right there. Okay. Once you have them there and they're basically in the spot that you need them to be, then you're going to go back to the pen tool and you're going to draw out the other lines. If you need to adjust, use your selection tool, direct selection tool, which is the white arrow. Adjust. Okay, so once you have that done, we are going to create this part on the inside. So I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to use my pen tool, and I'm going to just drop points on all four of these corners. Now you notice obviously it's not correct, so we're going to use the anchor point tool, and we're going to stretch this guy out. Now remember, if you click on that handle, it will flatten that out, because even though we want the curve on the top, we do not want it on the sides. Same with the inside here and here. If you need to make some adjustments, go ahead and do so. Now for this shape, we actually want to take our selection tool, click on it. We want it to have a white fill with no stroke. So I'm going to click on default, which gives me a white fill, but a black stroke. Then I'm going to click on the black stroke and I'm going to select none. So now it's a solid white shape. And you could actually even still adjust things. Okay. Now the next thing we have to do is we're going to draw the actual iris of the eye, the black part. So we're going to come over here to our shapes, because no point in using the pen tool for this when we have a circle shape. So try and make one about the same size. If you need to make it a little bit bigger, hold down Shift, scale it up a little bit. Now we want this to not be solid white, we want it to be black. So I'm going to switch it, but I don't want to have a white stroke. So I'm going to click on the stroke and I'm going to click none. And now I can kind of line this up a little bit more. Now here's the thing. This shape is now in front of our white little highlight. So if you click on this shape, click on right click, go down to arrange and click send to back. It will send it behind. So now we have that. Now we need to make the center part the white. So I'm going to hold down Alt. I'm going to create a copy of this circle. I'm going to hold down Shift and I'm going to shrink it down. But we don't want to lose it. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to click on the default and I'm going to turn the stroke off. So I have the white part of the eye. Maybe make it a little bit bigger so you can kind of size it. And that's what I have so far. So you probably want to make sure that this little circle and this larger circle of the eye are actually centered, because we don't want to really just guess on that and then possibly mess up a project. So what we're going to do is we're going to select the inside circle, hold down Shift and select the outer circle. Now when you have multiple shapes, select it. Your align tools up here pop up. So if you align horizontal align center, and then come over here to vertical line center, it will move your circles to where they are perfectly centered. Okay, the last thing we're going to do is we're actually going to stylize the eye a little bit with these strokes. So I'm going to use my selection tool. I'm going to select all three of these lines. So if you click on the first one, hold down Shift, and click on the other two, make sure you have all three of these selected. Now you're going to come up here and you see where you have your stroke weight of how thick your stroke's actually going to be. You're going to go here to the variable width profile. So it's by default, it's always on uniform, but there's all these other ones that you can select from. So we're going to go ahead and do profile 1. And if you notice, they go from a very sharp pointed edge across and into a sharp pointed edge. So we're going to select all three of these strokes again, and we're going to bump our stroke up to probably 6. Now I have this kind of dramatic eye shape here. Then we're going to select all three of our eyelashes, and you're going to go back here and you're going to go down to width 4. And you'll see it kind of gives us these eyelashes. So I'm going to come and I'm going to bump those up. So now we got these really cool little eyelashes. Now, if you happen to draw a little bit backwards for your eyelashes, that's okay. We can fix that. So select your eyelash. You're going to go to your stroke panel, and if it's not extended, make sure you click these little arrows to extend it. Okay. And down here at the bottom, see where it says profile? This is where you can select them, or right next to it, you see this little flip along. If you click that, it's then going to reverse the effect. So if you drew yours a bit backwards and this is what your eyelashes look like, you don't have to worry, you don't have to redraw it. You just come in here and flip the effect. So no problem. So this is a quick intro to the pen tool. So I want you guys, for your assignment, to finish this whole top row of pen tool. And then you can actually come in here and create these 3 shapes. Now these 3 shapes, technically, if you did the ones down here correctly, you can copy them and paste them up here and you should be fine. And then we will get to the pencil tool and the brush tool next. But I want you to get your pen tools finished first. And then once we are done with everything, I'll have you turn all parts of this in.